Hi! This time I want to talk about the importance of organization when running a tabletop role-playing game campaign. This video is not going to be very useful for those that run one-shots, but when it comes to running a campaign, organization is extremely important. And why is that? Maybe you have seen some situations in movies, comic books, animated shows, etc., or even, yes, in fiction in general, where the characters are placed into this sort of fictional world. That is, within the fiction, within that reality, the characters perhaps are somewhat tricked or hypnotized or sent into some sort of pocket dimension, or maybe they are asleep and they are trapped in this dream world. So they are within a fictional world within the fictional world. And it's not easy for them to recognize that they are trapped in a fictional reality. But there is almost always some sort of thing, a nonsensical thing that gives away the secret of this particular world. So let's say that your character was somehow trapped in this machine, and the machine draws out the mind of the character and puts him or her in a dream world, and this dream world is so realistic that the character could easily remain trapped in that fictional environment for the rest of his or her existence. But as he is moving in that place, in a sort of matrix scenario, perhaps he notices a glitch in reality. You know, the typical that in the Matrix, where some animals kind of like glitched and they look like clipped versions of themselves, like they went back in time, and then the action keeps looping and looping again in a very weird way. In other situations, like I think it was the one episode of the Batman animated series, he was also trapped in this dream world, and he noticed that it wasn't a real place, because when he tried to read things, the words were all scrambled. That was an error on the part of the villain, in my opinion, because it's almost impossible to go through any situation in a realistic environment where you don't read. Reading is so useful. You can communicate so many things through words and letters. So it was obvious that fictional world was not very solid in its deceitful manner. So what I mean by this is that in a campaign, because the campaign is a fictional reality, any sort of inconsistency is going to bring the entire world down. The immersion in a campaign is somewhat different when compared to the immersion in a one-shot. There is still that sense of immersive roleplay, but it is also greatly supported on the realistic world that is presented or communicated through the campaign. When something doesn't make too much sense in the campaign, the immersion is going to be broken terribly, and you will have to make some repairs that will still not feel the same after that error has happened or has been exposed. So I would recommend a list to keep track of 3 things in a campaign, because otherwise you're going to have this domino effect where one simple mistake is going to bring the entire thing down. Sort of like a House of Cards effect as well. You should keep a list of the ongoing plot threads. Any sort of quest or side quest or mission that happens, keep track of how that side mission quest is proceeding. Any sort of change within that plot thread. Depending on what the characters do, or when the characters fail to do something, that is going to have some repercussions in these ongoing threads that will evolve. If it's actually a realistic campaign, those threads will evolve as time passes. Maybe some events within the event, some subcategories, will only occur after some time has passed, perhaps a few weeks or months. Maybe some of them will only become triggered or will come into motion after the characters do something very specific, or when they don't take action with another course of events. It can get quite complicated. That's why you need your list of plot threads. I am thinking about this at the moment because, like I said, I am running a campaign, a very complex campaign. I am actually looking for one or perhaps two more players. The link to that campaign will be in the description. That is, it's a parallel campaign that I am going to start because I got really excited about the possibilities with my ongoing campaign at the physical table with my regular players. So when I think about all of those plot threads, you really need to keep track of things. So whenever you finish a session, take a look at the ongoing threads. Have some of them closed. That is, maybe the characters fulfilled a particular mission or reached an objective. You can, let's say, just cross off or erase that from your list of ongoing plot threads. You're almost going to be praying for those side missions or side quests to be over so that you don't have to keep track of them. And when you actually manage that, you feel such a relief. Now you can focus on these other ongoing threads. So whenever you finish your session, take a look at how those threads are being affected. Which ones have been completed? Which ones are affected because of the actions of the player characters? And the ramifications, of course. Nobody said it was going to be easy, but I have always communicated that when it comes to campaigns, I think that's one of the more rewarding aspects of tabletop role-playing games, in my opinion. The sense of accomplishment. Now, another thing to keep track of is the current state of places within the campaign world. Many actions of the player characters may end up in the complete destruction of a particular site, or things that were taken from a particular adventure site or a specific zone or area, they are no longer going to be there. And if you miss keeping track of those things, maybe the players will visit that place again and suddenly they find the same object that they discovered several sessions back. It's going to be very weird. You could perhaps, like I said, patch things up, saying something like, well, if they talk to a non-player character, they could be informed of something like, it is very mysterious in that site. There is a constant influx of energy that clones or replicates objects. And that's how the characters found the same magical sword in that same place. But maybe the effect stops, otherwise it becomes very ridiculous. But as you can see, you don't want those situations, because if you keep doing that, oh yes, the site that you destroyed, now it's intact once more. The thing that was in complete shambles, in complete ruins, is now once again almost good as new. It doesn't make sense. And the players are going to feel as if the campaign is toppling down, because they're going to be thinking, but we destroyed this place, we discovered that same treasure just a few sessions ago. This world makes no sense. This is not to say it is impossible to handle such surreal situations, but in a consistent campaign, those are not going to be the norm. Those situations are not going to be usual or expected. The important thing about the unexpected in a campaign is not to use the unexpected all the time. And if you don't have good organization when running a campaign, there are going to be unexpected moments for both the game master and the players, but not in a positive way. It's because you are trying to patch up your own errors or mistakes. The other thing to keep track of is the list of the non-player characters. Many non-player characters throughout the campaign, depending on the actions of the player characters, or perhaps unrelated or related to the actions of other non-player characters, they are going to die. Or they are going to end up injured. Or maybe they will change the location. Maybe they lived in this town, and because there was this threat, this horde of enemies attacking that town, it is no longer safe, and they relocate to another area entirely. So you need to keep track of the current state of those non-player characters. Otherwise, like I said, you will have those surreal moments when a non-player character died, and the players encounter that same non-player character alive and well because you forgot that non-player character died a few weeks ago. The same could also be said of the happenings with the relationships and the projects, the tasks, the jobs of that non-player character. Things will change throughout the life of that non-player character. And if you don't keep track of those things, it's going to be quite nonsensical. So suddenly Joe, that was working as a stonemason in this place, but he's no longer working there, and he's actually now a part of the guard, or he joined some mercenary group. It doesn't make sense that suddenly you're going to encounter him again working as a stonemason or building houses and whatnot. Maybe, like I said, you could patch up things like, oh well, the mercenary thing was not making too much money for me, so now I'm back building houses. Or but the players are going to be like, So yes, you need to be consistent about those things. So basically, you only need, like I said, 3 lists: a list of ongoing plot threads or missions or side quests, however you want to call them; the list detailing the state of places. It will also be a great idea to detail if some non-player characters are still within those adventure sites. Like I said, it could be anything. You could encounter non-player characters in ruins, or perhaps even in towns or cities. Make note that this character is no longer living there, just to remind yourself of that. And the third list is the state of the non-player characters. So I hope this video was helpful for those that want to run a campaign or are currently going through a campaign. Let me know your own thoughts on this. If you have any other comments or questions, please let me know. As always, thank you for watching my videos, thank you for your likes and your comments, and thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.